sit out all year, and now what he's become and meant to this team?
Well, I thought he did a heck of a job last year. He went from the number 3 quarterback to the number 1 quarterback a week before the opening game, and always had a good demeanor about him. A good job managing the offense. A guy that made good decisions even early when he hadn't played a whole lot, and then as the season progressed, he became more and more confident. And when the season was all said and done, he had a very good year. He had thrown for 2,000 yards and about 62% completion, and didn't throw a pick in the last 4.5 games. So really came on strong at the end of the year. He's a whole different guy this year. He's confident. He's sure. He's taken his game to a different level. It's the first time since I've been back as the head coach of Purdue that we have a quarterback that's experienced and in place that can make the players around him better than what they really are, and that's huge at the quarterback position. We have a lot of good players around our quarterback, but he makes them even better. So I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he has really developed himself as a big-time quarterback from where he was at the beginning of last season to where he's at now. It's just night and day. So some great things can happen for Caleb Turbush and our team this year.
The other guy that I spoke to today that I'm also going to piece on is probably Wright. He started as a walk-on, had injuries in high school, and now he's battled back to be a captain this year. Can you also just share a little bit about him?
He's a very special player on our team. You know, he had a ton of votes from his teammates. They selected him as a team captain. That doesn't always happen for a walk-on. He was really unusual. He was a starter and a captain before he ever got a scholarship. And there's not a lot of guys that can work that hard and be that patient. But he's a very good football player. He's physical on the line of scrimmage, a very good blocker. He's very sure-handed, but he's one of the more lower rep football players I've been around. He's an excellent technician. You only have to show him once, and he does it very well. You know, so he's a low rep guy with a good motor. That got great work ethic and that the players really respect. So he's come from obscurity to becoming a starter and a captain of a Big Ten football team. I think that's a great career.
With Normando, he had a really good spring and a really good spring game for him. It seemed to have a lot of momentum, and now the injury kind of has halted a little bit. That is kind of where he's at in his rehab process, and just how has he kept his spirits up after suffering the injury and everything that he did in the spring?
Normando has done well. He tweaked his knee, you know, through the summer workouts, and was cleared. And he came out in the first couple of days of practice. I mean, he was outstanding. He had not only picked up where he left off at, but it seemed way ahead. He certainly seemed like one of our better players out there on the field. And then he probably got too much early, and it's held him back some. So he missed the majority of camp. But he's a smart guy. He has a good football IQ. He's starting to get his reps now. I don't know exactly where he's at because he's just now getting back on the field, but I anticipate him regaining his health and his stamina and being the great player that we thought he would be in spite of a little bit of a setback. It was a knee that set him back for 5 or 6 weeks is all. You know, and the timing of it was fortunate for us that he's able to come back and get to work prior to the opening game. So I still expect him to have a heck of a year.
Is that when he's healthy now, when he finally gets healthy, is that just another piece to the secondary and adds a little bit, another piece of depth?
Well, it adds a lot. It adds a lot. Him coming back healthy and sure adds a lot to our football team. He can play at the corner position. He can free some guys up to move around different spots. He can play the nickel spot. He's a good special teams player. His presence in the back half of our secondary frees some other guys up to participate on special teams. So he's a very good player, and he's a welcome addition back, and can really make a difference to our football team as a player in the secondary, and also what the guys that he replaces, what they can contribute on special teams as well. So he's very important to our football team, and great to have him back.
Sounds like Tommy Thomas is having surgery or had surgery.
Well, that was the word this morning. I haven't got any word since, so I don't know what time they did it, but he was supposed to have surgery today.
What is that for?
He has a broken foot, so they're gonna fix it.
Well, you never said it was broken.
Okay, well I wasn't really sure exactly where it was at, but it's broken, and they're going to fix it and require surgery to get it done.
Is this his prognosis, I guess?
We're anticipating getting him back towards the latter part of the season. He'll be out several weeks, but it's a long season, and anticipate him coming back the latter part of the season and obviously being back for the postseason play.
Where's Shane McKeskey at in, I guess, your receiver rotation, and is he a guy that can step up now?
Well, that's a fair question. One of the things we want to get done in the next couple of practices is to get a better feel for where we're at with a bulk of players at the wide receiver position and also a bulk of players at the linebacker position. We have a handful of guys that we have to sort through At the linebacker spot, there's some competition for the guys that are going to play inside, some competition for the guys that will play outside. The backup spots, the second team guys. We think we have a good feel for who the starters would be. The receiver position is similar in some ways. We have a feel who we think the starters might be, but there's a group of guys, about a half a dozen guys that are all good players. They're all similar in some ways as far as where they're at right now in their development as a player, and Shane is definitely in the mix. Charles Turwoodzo, the freshmen that are out there practicing right now, Cameron Posey, Danny Anthrop, all those guys are kind of in the mix right now, and we're trying to get those guys a ton of reps and sorted out this week so we can kind of bring some continuity, not only with the ones, but obviously with the twos as well. So Shane McKeskey has improved. He was a developmental player in high school, more of a track athlete that was playing football, and came on and played well his senior year, and has good height. He's very, very fast, very, very smart, but he's still a developmental player, but he's way ahead of where he was this time last year. He's much improved, and he is certainly in the mix right now to get a spot in the two deep and earn some playing time. So the practices this week and next week are really important to a certain group of wide receivers and a certain group of linebackers on our team.
Danny, a few days ago you said it was important, made a priority to reduce the penalties and play more discipline. Right. And I know you haven't any games, right, but do you sense in this camp and now since you're in game week mode that this team's practicing more discipline?
I think so. I think they're trying to. Obviously, we've had officials out at our practices a lot. We had them out again today, and that makes a difference. And they call it like they see it, so they bring some awareness to the players. They keep their hands in and to make sure that they do everything they can to play within the rules. But little things that really make a difference, I'm seeing great signs right now. For example, lining up right and lining up fast on defense and on time on offense. There's not many times throughout the course of practice that our defense isn't lined up and ready to go. Almost all the time they're lined up ready to go, and our offense is changing the tempo and the pace up. We'll race out of the huddle and go on sound, and we expect our defense to be lined up and ready to go. And I think they're doing a heck of a job with that. And we haven't had very many false starts on the offensive side of the ball in the last 3 or 4 practices. I don't know. We've had maybe 1 or 2 false starts in the last 3 or 4 practices. We haven't had many offsides by the defensive front, and we're changing the snap count up a bunch. And sometimes in the past we have a lot of guys coming across the line of scrimmage when we were changing the snap count up, and we haven't had hardly any defensive players offsides in the last 3 or 4 practices. So the last 3 or 4 practices, I think we've really indicated that we are approaching to becoming a much more disciplined football team. The first 3 or 4 practices, a lot of the same mistakes. But the last 3 or 4 practices, I think the guys have done a great job of avoiding particularly pre-snap penalties. We were the most penalized team in the league last year. About half of our penalties were pre-snap penalties, and those are things that most of the time you can control. So I see good signs out there. Guys are playing fair and squared. Not a lot of extracurricular activity after the whistle. We've got a plan for that type of action on the practice field, and that got their attention. We've had very little of that. So just a lot of good things that are signs that we're becoming a much more disciplined football team. And that's really important to us, very, very important to us.
What did Sam McCartney do over the last year to put himself in a position to compete for a role?
He started kicking it between the uprights on a lot more consistent basis. That's huge. He gets to kick between them 2 poles, But he's gotten a lot stronger and a lot bigger. If you look at a picture of Sam a year ago and you look at him now, he doesn't even look like the same guy. He's bigger and stronger. He has an excellent position coach. Coach Gibbon is an outstanding instructor of specialists, and Sam is a student of it. He really worked hard and spent a lot of time on his own. He's very proud to be here. It means a lot to him. He is competing to be, one of our field goal kickers. And we'll see how it goes. It's heated competition. Sam's kind of had the edge. I don't know if that's how it went today in practice or not. I'll check and see. But there's definitely competition in that spot, and we could end up in a situation where we feel more comfortable with one of our field goal kickers kicking the intermediate range field goals, and maybe another guy that might be better suited to be a long ball hitter right now. But we'll have a plan for that. But very pleased with Sam. He works hard, really works hard. He's always fit in really well with his teammates. It didn't take him long to become very popular on our football team. I think the players really respect him. But he has really worked hard, and he's bigger and stronger, and is a much more polished place kicker than he was a year ago. So everything about him is better.
You talked just with the linebackers on the backups, because what guys are you kind of looking at that are competing at that spot?
Well, right now, on the inside, we would have Beckford and Will Lucas, and then we have to try to figure out who the next best guys are that can play inside, and whether it's going to be Antoine Higgs or Sean Robinson, you know, or maybe one of the newcomers, you know, whether it be Andy Garcia, you know, or Ruben Ibarra. You know, we have a handful of guys that we're working in there to get a look at those guys at the inside linebacker spots, and then we feel really good about Robert Macy, you know, as a Sam linebacker, and then still, you know, trying to get a good feel for exactly where Nnamdi Nzinwa is at and where Armstead, I get the name all the time. Because A. Williams, there reminds me of Al Williams, so I always want to call him Al Williams, but it's Armstead Williams. And I appreciate you looking out for me, okay? But and kind of get a feel where those guys are at. They've been competing for that spot, and both those guys have done well. You know, I'll tell you, it's not just at the linebacker position, but I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing from Nnamdi Nzinwa. He's a tremendous talent. We knew that coming out of high school, but he was very much a developmental player coming out of high school, and hasn't had a lot of game reps the last couple of years. He's had some injuries, but he's bigger and faster and stronger and much more sure and really into it. And I see him really shining out there on special teams and a lot of time in our scrimmage reps. So really pleased with Nnamdi and Armstead as well.
Is Higgs okay? I didn't see him.
Higgs was not in practice today, but Higgs is fine. It was something he had to take care of, and that we couldn't get the appointment changed, but he's fine. But thank you for asking.
Danny, just one more thing. When Caleb was asking about Caleb Turbush, back to the first game when you guys went down the field to beat Middle Tennessee State, did you notice a confidence level going up in not only Caleb but Crosby as well?
I don't know if it was that particular drive, but I really felt like as the season progressed that he gained confidence every week. And I always was impressed with his calm demeanor. You know, he got kind of thrust into the position, had zero playing time, very little playing time in the game since he came to Purdue. Then all of a sudden he was a starter, and I always felt like he had very good composure. And I think that has really made a difference in his development, and it's really helped him keep that starting position, particularly last season. You know, there were a lot of things that were happening for him and to him for the first time. He always seemed to have a great handle on maintaining his composure and managing the offense. He's a lot different. You know, he knows where he's going to go with the ball before the snap, as soon as the ball is snapped, and that makes a difference. The linemen are doing a good job with their pass protection. We have improved significantly. We're still not where we want to be yet from a protection standpoint, but sometimes when the protection breaks down, the ball's already gone in the receiver's hands, and it doesn't even matter. So he's way ahead, and that's one example of how he can make those around him even better.
Coach Nord said that he thinks you can use the pass to set up the run this year. Maybe a little different approach than what you did last year. I mean, why do you think that's something you potentially could have success with?
Well, we can throw and catch a lot better than we could last year or the year before. We've had so many injuries at the quarterback position, and it's been such a challenge to develop a quarterback here the last 3 years. You know, so the fact that we have an experienced, veteran, confident quarterback coming back, and with Caleb Turbush and Robert Marv, you know, obviously is way ahead of where he was last year, understands the offense a lot better, he's healthier, so we have capable quarterbacks now, so we ought to be able to open it up and really accentuate the passing game. And anytime you can put the defense in position, you have to defend the whole field, it changes everything for the offense. And that has not been the case the last couple of years. Our passing attack, our threat of a passing attack wasn't really a difference maker for our football team the last couple of years, and it will be this season.